Hi, Data Ben here. Today we're going to cover JavaScript arrow functions. They're a great way to upgrade traditional JavaScript functions to shorter, easier to read code. Let's have a look. You'll need VS Code to code along with this example. And in our first example, we're going to convert this simple single variable function, which just adds 42 to a provided number. So we'd expect the output here to be 52. So I'm going to run this line by line by using F10 or function F10 in VS Code, which will start the debugger, and press F10 to get the result. And yes, we have the result 52. So now we're going to convert this to an arrow function. So to convert this function, we want to actually create the arrow function first. So we're going to do the equals and the arrow. The first thing we can remove is the parentheses. So we can remove these parentheses at the start and end, and then we're going to remove this onto the same line, so the return number plus 42. The next thing we can remove is the actual return statement itself. Now returns are implicit in our functions that are on a single line, so if we remove the return, it's going to assume that this line, this number plus 42, is the return statement. Next, we want to actually remove the function keyword, and we're going to convert this into a variable instead. So we're going to do let add 42, then equals, and this would work as it is now. So let add 42 equals number, our function number plus 42. But when there's only one argument, you can actually remove the final brackets as well. So we can actually simplify it one further step. So let's run this and see if it works. So we're going to console.log and we should get the number 52, which we do. So that's how to convert a single variable function from a traditional function into a single line arrow function. Next, we're going to convert a multivariable function into an arrow function. So this multiply 3 function just multiplies the numbers that are provided in here, and let's actually convert it straight away and see if we can get the correct result. So first we're going to delete the parentheses again, and again we're going to remove the return statement to the same line. Oh, we also need to add, of course, the arrow as well, so we've got the arrow function here. And then again, the return statement is going to be implicit, so we don't need a return and we don't need the function, and we're going to convert this into a variable instead, so let instead of function, and then we just need an equals on here. And we've now converted this one to an arrow function as well. We can't unfortunately remove these final brackets. We can only do this, as you can see in the first example, when there's one variable. If there's two or more variables, you do have to keep this second set of brackets. So let's see if we get a result for this, which is 48, which is correct. 2 times 4 is 8, and then 8 times 6 is 48. So we've done a multivariable function onto a single line as well. So what happens if the function is over multiple lines? This is a little bit different. So let's see here with this option of choosing a soda. So let's see what we can remove. First thing is that we cannot actually remove the parentheses here because it's a multi-line statement. So we have to keep the curly braces in order for this to be executed. We also have to keep the return statements as well. So as soon as you go onto 2 or more lines, there is no implicit return statement, and you do have to have the curly braces. So let's just add in what we can do, which is first the arrow function, and then we're going to remove the function keyword at the start and change this to let, and then after choose soda, we're going to do equals, and since we only have one variable here, one argument, we're going to remove the bracket on this as well. So we've simplified it somewhat, but kept the main content of the code the same here. So let's run to this line and see if we get the correct result. So if we run to this line, and we can see there that we've chosen option 2, which is lemonade, and it has returned the correct result there. So when it's a multi-line function, you can add the arrow, convert the function to a variable, but it does still have to have the parentheses and the return statements. Next, let's scroll down and look at our functions in arrays. So we've created an array here of numbers 1 to 5, and we have a function within here. So it's going to reduce this function and add all of these numbers together to produce the number 15. But let's see if we can simplify the function into an arrow function somewhat. So first, we can take away the function keyword. Next, we can see we can actually do this calculation on one line. So we don't need the return on the total here. And we're going to put this onto the same line. And because of that, because it's on the same line, we don't need the parentheses as well. So we can delete those. But we do need the actual, of course, the arrow function itself. And we can see here that it looks like we've successfully put it all onto one line. Let's see if this works correctly. Which it does. It's added all the numbers together and produced the number 15. So because there's two arguments here, again, we do still have to keep the brackets. If there was one argument, we could have removed these brackets as well. Finally, we'll look at set timeout. So timeout runs a section of code after a certain number of milliseconds. So this is 2 seconds here. And this is how we would usually run this. But instead, what we can do is, again, we can remove the function. We can add in the arrow. And because we have the console log on the same line, we can actually remove the parentheses as well. And we can see if this runs. So if we run the code, and then it does appear 2 seconds later. So the timeout works correctly, all completed on one line. Now I've removed all of the comments here just to show how much we've reduced the code. So all of the examples are just over 11 lines here. So it's really reduced the amount of code that we use when we use arrow functions. And after you've used them a few times, they're actually easier to read as well. So they're a very convenient method to use in JavaScript, and I highly encourage you to practice creating these arrow functions in your code and coming back to this video to code along whenever you need a reminder.